come.
Just go to the line. Behind the score.
Oh, this is all right. They can't take a risk. The first time they've done it.
Con comes return, pitch over the sideline, and was out of score. So the point goes.
Established sport has always been suspicious of television. The first cameras at the Cup final were allowed to show no action, only the crowd.
Oxford have got to do something here because they've got the advantage of the inside of the...
The boat race organisers agreed to coverage, but the contract ran into trouble. The fee for the camera site was 25 guineas. The BBC would pay only 5.
The rails on the horse on the outside. Now the whips are out. The whips are out.
And the first derby on the screen provoked, some years later, the first demands for payment for television presence. But television had already decided, mainly because of technical limitations, it would have to create its own sporting events. And during the first week of broadcasting, members of the local amateur boxing club at Alexandra Palace came into this very studio and took part in the first ever live coverage of a sporting occasion. It was perhaps more significant than anyone realized for many, many years. Televised sport today occupies more than 25% of the BBC's program output. And the search for new material has developed and even promoted, as in the case of that first action broadcast, minority sports that now command a massive following. True, one or two of the traditional national sports still remain uneasy about the medium. But after half a century, there is now general acceptance that television is not to be feared, but to be harnessed and used.
He's done it. Dennis Taylor, for the first time, becomes the world snooker champion, 1985.
5 times, an absolutely unique person in the history of the game.
Game, set, and match to Becker. And a goal for Everton by Graham Sharp. He's got him again, he won't get up from that. He's out, and Bruno is on his way to a crack at the world title. You can hardly believe it.
The master is clear. He left it again till the last trial, just as he did in the discus.
He's got David Cram on his outside, he's done it, and he's going for the line, and he must make it. Oh, magnificent opening try there.
Cambridge up by nearly half a length as they leave the boathouses.
You couldn't have a better picture there than the pain of marathon running. The sheer drama of sport. But pictures like that are only possible because sports editors, producers and engineers, driven by the demands of live broadcasting, have never been afraid to adventure and have always been among the first to experiment with technical innovations and international links. This tiny miracle is the newest camera, and it really does bring a new meaning to the expression in the trade, handheld. The camera, by radio link, transmits pictures live, or of course, it can be recorded on videotape for instant replay. Machines like this have made television so much more flexible. Action can be played back in slow motion, which has become such an important source of extra information in the past 2 decades. This was the original equipment on which sport was first covered, and it had its problems.
As you can see, there are 2 lenses, and because these 2 lenses are separated, there was a parallax error between the 2, which made it slightly awkward for following subjects, because you had to have these lined up dead accurately. And also, this had a normal ground glass screen, optical viewfinder. One advantage, you got an image in color. But the image, you may be able to see it, is upside down and back to front, so that when anybody set up, their head would disappear out of the bottom of the viewfinder. And this meant that you had to develop a technique to counterbalance this. It wasn't easy, but once you'd acquired it, everything was all right.
I once remember them saying to me, I think I was criticizing something or other, and they said, well, if you're so damn clever, have a go yourself. And I made a complete horlicks of it.
Well, that seems to have tied up Wimbledon and Lords. Now, the Roehampton show on the 31st...
Peter Dimmock became one of the most influential figures in post-war television. His vision led to long-term contracts with almost every major sports organisation. And there was a refreshing attitude in the outside broadcast team.
Keith, I'd like you to move that forward 1 week if you can. Can you manage it?
Yes, I think I can.
Excuse me, Keith. Peter, if you finish with me, I think I'll push off to Speedway.
So that what they really did was they gathered together a small body of us. I think we were called assistant OB managers. A lot of us came from the Air Force, which wasn't a bad thing in a way, because, I mean, producing television programs immediately after the war was rather like flying in the seat of your pants. We had to do everything. We had to produce, we had to commentate. The production was done standing up and shouting at the engineers, saying to them, I'm moving their heads so that you could see the preview screen. So the whole thing was a bit dicey. But it was huge fun, and perhaps one of the most exciting aspects was you felt the audience were with you. We were always having breakdowns in those early days, and that's really why a lot of us did commentating as well as production, because you had to know, you had to anticipate what was the next thing that was going to break down, and then try and cover it up as best you could, so nobody at home really knew what was happening. Our first really major outside broadcast in those post-war years was the Olympic Games, of course, from Wembley.
Behind the Union Jack comes the British contingent, which, in its place of honour as the host at the Games, brings up the very rear of the great athletic procession. We've come over very abruptly to outside, because here, before we expected it, is the last torch being brought to Wembley Stadium, an escort of motorcycle police and cars round it, and in the centre...
It was an incredible feat of engineering, really, because the equipment was not totally up to the job, but produced some remarkable pictures.
I proclaim open the Olympic Games of London, celebrating the 14th Olympiad of the modern era.
The Games brought to the living room the true international nature of sport. The grimacing Czech Emil Zatopek won national affection.
And they're off for a fair start again.
Holland's Fanny Blankers-Koen won 4 gold medals.
Second is Dora Manley. Second, Manley. Third is Strickland. Yes, Blankers-Koen wins. Second, Dora Manley. Strickland third. And Valamaz of Canada is fourth.
In outside broadcast, it's vital that equipment is durable, reliable and mobile. The gear was getting better. The engineers were looking for a challenge, and they took on the biggest, the boat race, with cameras waterborne and communications stretched as never before. The reward was unexpected.
Cambridge now running into rougher water as they come up to the end of the wall. And the water is breaking right over Cambridge as well, but they are a good, I should think, 4 or 5 lengths ahead. What do you think, Clayford?
Cambridge are having a much easier passage than Oxford, having shipped much less water at the start.
And Oxford are definitely sinking, I think. We come over onto the Oxford crew. Oxford are getting lower and lower in the water, and they definitely are sinking. Oxford has sunk. And there you have a very unusual view indeed of a crew in the boat race sinking. It hasn't happened since 1925.
Gradually, there came into being, over the first 10 years of my time there, perhaps a little more, 12 years, what I think can be called a kind of force of all arms. Sportsview, oddly enough, was the first. Sportsview originally had been films of football matches, rugby matches, whatever they were, with somebody introducing them on a Thursday night saying this is what happened during the week. But gradually that got bigger so that you could take bits of different matches in different parts of the country. They had live things as well. They got sportsmen into the studio so that you had studio direction and film direction and outside OB direction. You had people who later became very big, Brian Cowgill, who became the managing director of Thames, Paul Fox, who became the managing director of Yorkshire, Peter Dimmock, who became a great power in his own right, like a kind of secular pope. And all these chaps worked together and they put on, week after week, Sportsview, and it was a big deal.
Good evening. Welcome to Sportsview. Tonight's program ranges from racing to boxing, from football to skating. And we begin...
I was really out of a job, and so I went along to Peter Dimmock and said, I think I've got an idea for a weekly sports magazine called Sportsview. And the key to the whole thing was that we were going to deal with sports in news terms. And it really was good sports journalism. And the great thing about Peter was, even though he was my boss during the day, in the evening he was a performer, and he listened to the instructions from the editor. And I take my hat off to Peter for doing that.
And we went on the air, and I did my first link, and I was conscious that I'd done it very badly. But down into the studio from the gallery came Fox, banged the desk in front of me and said, "What the hell do you think you're doing? We're all nearly asleep in the gallery, so goodness knows what you're doing to the viewers. Wake up!" And the rest of the program went well.
The second guy who was very important in Sportsview was a man called Ronnie Noble. He was a tremendous driving force, and Ronnie brought things along to Sportsview that nobody else could have done. Sportsview pioneered a number of things. I mean, one of them was in the days when the Monte Carlo Rally was still on. Sportsview entered the Monte Carlo Rally in a taxi. It was a lunatic idea to have a London taxi running in the Monte Carlo Rally. And Peter Dimmock was sufficiently eccentric in those days to believe that he thought we could actually win. We were the first people to take a camera down the crest to run on a bobsleigh.
And we're going down to the first corner. And we're going round the peg. And into the next proper, first one. And the second one.
And we had a bit of luck, because in the first edition, or it may have been the second edition, that was the day that Roger Bannister ran the first 4-minute mile. And the luck we had was that we were there, that we'd been tipped off. The McWhirter twins had tipped us off. We had a splendid cameraman called Alan Prentice who filmed the event. From then on, Sportsview was made. It was on the front page. The following day, we had the only Bannister interview, and Sportsview was made from then on. Sportsview undoubtedly became an institution.
Well, good evening. Welcome to this special winter sports edition of Sportsview. Here in Davos, the heart of winter sports.
Sportsview became international as well, linked on many occasions from the continent when Eurovision started in 1954.
I can hear London on this funny little thing on my left ear, so I hope you're receiving me.
What a surprise the nation had when the Winter Olympics were televised for the first time in 1956 from Cortina d'Ampezzo in Italy.
This is the Italian television commentary circuit from the United Kingdom. For Italy, Rai TG1.
Winter sports took on a new meaning, and Britain discovered a new hero, the Austrian skier Tony Seiler, who won 3 gold medals. But it was an unlikely gold medal in the bobsleigh in 1964, which really cemented British interest in winter sports.
Pilot Tony Nash, brakeman Robin Dixon. It looks like a good start. They bounced the bob beautifully. Nash safely aboard, Dixon safely aboard. A tremendous shove by Dixon, past the 50-meter mark. Nash slapping that bob right down the middle. This is a really fast run by the Britons. They could be on the way to a gold medal.
of Austria. The brilliance of this man. Takes the leap well, survives it well, hugs the torch, sits down, gets a lower line if he can. There's the time, it's coming up now, 1:45, he's done it, Cram has done it, and this crowd go wild.
John Curry did not put a foot wrong.
A poignant moment in sporting history. Irina Rodnina wipes away the tears and cheerfully accepts her third Olympic gold medal. The height on those double axles and the length.
The 1960 Olympic Games in Rome were the first big Eurovision event that was shown really to the world. It changed the course of sports broadcasting because for 2 weeks we were there in Rome and brought the events back to the United Kingdom as they happened. It was sensational.
The parade of champions and sports in Rome reinforced the Olympic ideal. This was a genuine world festival.
There are the two favourites for the gold medal, Wilma Rudolph, and just leaning out of shot, Dorothy Hyman, Great Britain. And this time they're away, and Leone going well, Rudolph well, and Hyman well. And Hyman's up in front at the moment, and Ikina coming. Wilma coming right away with Hyman in second place. Can Hyman get the silver? It's Hyman or Ikina, and on the line, Hyman takes the silver. With Wilma Rudolph, the gold medal winner beyond all doubt, a clear winner. Don Thompson of Great Britain walking right into Olympic history. Clearly poised and controlled. He knows the medal's in the bag.
About 50 metres to go and the crowd rising to greet him. A superb walk by Don Thompson, who takes the gold medal for Britain in the 50-kilometre walk.
Lonsborough, and the whole of the stadium is going quite mad. And Lonsborough is now, I think, in the lead. Halfway down that last length, who is going to tower? It's going to be a tremendous fingernail finish between these two. And it's Lonsborough just inching ahead. Lonsborough for Great Britain. Lonsborough with 15 yards to go. And everybody is standing and yelling at her. And it's Lonsborough. It's Lonsborough just ahead. And also making great efforts. 5 yards. 4. Lonsborough's there. 3, 2. Lonsborough takes her, but she touches first. Lonsborough has the gold medal.
Very rounded round 5, already in gold medal form. That's way beyond the world record. Davis, having waited for the wind to drop. That's the lead.
Anpacker back in 5th place and blocked at the moment. And Maurice Chamberlain going up on the outside. There's going to be quite a bunch here, and Anpacker really isn't in a position to escape. And Anne Smith trailing right at the back, the new British record holder, right out of it. It's Dupereux now leading. The Russian girl, Lane Eric, going into 2nd place. Szabo is still there. So too is Bleckfeld, and Anpacker now moving up on the outside. She's got to do a lot of running to get there, and she's doing it. Here she goes on the outside. A tremendous sprint, but she's had to come the long way round. She really had to come a long way around, and she's moving into 2nd place. And here she comes on the outside. A tremendous run, and she's going to do it. Anpacker's going to take the gold medal. It's Anpacker, Great Britain. Oh, what a consolation. Anpacker wins. Dupereux 2nd, and Anpacker, oh, fantastic run. Magnificent, magnificent, magnificent. I think it's a new world record. And Henry Finale in 2nd place. Henry Finale, and coming as well as Bannister. And Whitney's ever close it. It's Henry Great Britain. It's Henry Great Britain. Henry with 1 barrier to go. And David Henry is going to take the gold. David Henry wins for Britain. A new world record. And Henry won it all the way.
On the long jump runway, Bobby Beamon of the United States, the man most feared by every competitor in this competition. Erratic, but incredibly talented. And here he goes for his opening leap.
Oh, it's an enormous one. My goodness me, it's an enormous one. That surely shattered the Olympic record. Good gracious me, he was up in the air for an age, it seems. Everybody will be watching this to see what it is. Absolutely incredible. 29 feet, 2.5. It's the greatest jump by the greatest margin there has ever been.
Uncle Sam's secret weapon, Dick Fosbury, and the bar is above the Olympic record, and the lone Dick Fosbury now poised for this amazing jump. There it is, the Fosbury flip.
Al Oetter, discus champion at the last 3 games, going for gold medal number 4.
It's another long one. It's 65-meter mark he's hit, thereabouts. 64, 68 to beat. He's beaten it. 64, 74.
Past halfway now in the 400 metres. Little Board going well on the inside, but the leader is Scott of America. Fenton Cuba right there, but Board looking strong off the bend. And Board closing down on the American and about to take the lead. Board hits the front with about 40, 50 metres to go. Cuban fading, Scott's fading, and here on the near side is Blesson of France. Blesson of France comes through to take the goal from Little Board, and pitching in at 3rd. Mary Peters looking thoughtful, just 200 metres away from Olympic gold.
Come on, Mary, you need the run of your lifetime. Keep on going. Rosendahl on the outside. Pollack is going well, but she's only a yard clear. Mary, come on. Come on. You got 2 yards to make. Rosendahl hits the tape first. Butler 2nd. Pollack 3rd. Peters 4th. But is it enough?
She's waiting as the whole crowd waits now. And we make it that Mary Peters has beaten Rosendahl and the rest for the gold medal. The girl from Belfast has got the gold medal with a world record.
Bortsoff now going for the sprint double. Balls up away fast. Black going terribly fast up on the Italian, and Bortsoff and Black on the inside, and Burton being left by Bortsoff, and Black going hard on the inside, and the Russians scorching down the home stretch, and the Russians seem to have got it. It looks like a sprint double for Bortsoff over Black, with Nenio Italy in third place. The fastest time done at sea level in Olympic history.
25 metres to go, and Mark Spitz is about a half a metre up. Coming up on the far side of him, Bura of the Soviet Union on the near side of him, Hyden right. But Spitz is still holding them off. He's got about a half a metre lead, and down on the near side is Murphy, but Spitz is going to go in. Spitz wins the gold medal, and Mark Spitz has won his 7th gold medal.
Olga Korbut was captivating, and having watched on television, over 2 million British children took up the sport over the next few years. The enormous growth of gymnastics has continued, a sport in which strength combines with grace and beauty.
From the front, he really holds his place, and Dixon is the danger man. What a last lap in prospect. The bell, and the black shadow of Rod Dixon looming over the rest in third place. The Olympic champion leads. Ian Stewart in second place for Britain. Foster is third for Britain. Dixon ready to attack on the outside for New Zealand. Foster can't get out. Dixon goes wide. Foster through past Stewart. Birren still leads, 250 yards left, and Dixon looks comfortable. Hildebrand of Germany going through on the outside. The world's number 3 all-time. But the champion is not going to let the title go easily. And it's Quacks now as Stewart fades. Foster may not even get a medal. Birren on the curve, and here comes Quacks and Dixon, the two black shadows of New Zealand. And Birren defends the title wonderfully well. And they are not going to beat him. Lassie Birren, the greatest distance runner in the world, proves it beyond doubt. The first man in history to successfully do the double is defended successfully both the 5,000 metres and the 10,000 metres. And here comes Wantarina in lane 2. Newhouse leads. Wantarina cutting down on the little American. And Wantarina comes through in lane 2. Newhouse tying up. The Cuban drives for the line and on his way to a second goal.
We have a certain gold medalist and a certain world record. You're looking at David Wilkie. He's leading with the cap, Henke without the cap. They've got 25 metres to go. David Wilkie is absolutely superb. Look at him go. He's now got a lead of 2 metres over Henkin, and Great Britain is going to win its first gold medal in swimming since 1960 when Anita Lonsborough won the 200. And it's Wilkie, and it's a new world record for Great Britain and David Wilkie.
The Olympic final underway. Wells got away well, and also going well is Lara, and on the far side Lennon, an accident. But it's Wells on the near side for Great Britain. On the far side, Lennon of Cuba. They can't see each other. Wells lunges at the line and takes the gold medal. Steve Ovett in 4th place. Those blue eyes like chips of ice. Getting knocked about by Barganek. And Koe coming up, trying to make his run. It's Kirov now of Russia. Steve Ovett in 2nd place, and Koe's got an awful lot to do. He's coming from a long way back, but they've been all over the place in this race. It's been a running battle. Kirov leads, Ovett 2nd. Koe is beaten surely. Ovett hits the front, and Koe can't get through. Steve Ovett coming home to take the gold medal for Great Britain, to beat Sebastian Koe against the silver, and Ovett looks up in triumph. That was a race about experience. And Carl Lewis is showing his pace in Grady. It's Carl Lewis and Grady. Carl Lewis on the near side, and on the far side Ron Brown, and America may have got 1, 2, 3.
Oh, what a good jump. Absolutely spot on the board, and he allows himself a little smile.
Carl Lewis all the way. Kirk Baptiste in 2nd place. In 3rd place is Jefferson of America. On the near side, Silver of Brazil. And Lewis wins this.
And the big man has the baton. And history is being made. On he comes, Carl Lewis. On the inside, Jamaica. Jamaica from Canada. And then Italy. And then West Germany. And then Great Britain. We were 7th.
The new Jesse Owens.
Danny Harris coming through in lane 4, but Moses pouring on the pressure, and they're all looking like second-raters. And the race is between Danny Harris and Harold Smith for the silver. There's no doubt in the gold. Danny Harris closing up, but Ed Moses is going for the line. He's going to make it by 4 yards. Look at the time, 47.76. It's just outside his Olympic record.
Bud forcing her way to the front. Decker in 2nd place, went to slide 3rd. But trying to get back to the curve. Decker won't let go. A slight touch there. Oh, and Decker goes down. Decker, the American favourite for the gold medal, crashes down and out of the games.
Bathcal's really stretching and testing him, and Steve Ovett's dropped out. It's not surprising. The world record holder out. It's been a bad week for him. So Ovett out, and now the 2 Britons in 2nd and 3rd place. The leader still a Bathcal. Sebastian Koe in 2nd place, and there goes the world champions, Steve Cram on the outside. The race really on now. Koe responds immediately. He's the Olympic champion. Can he do it again? Steve Cram in 2nd place, champion of the world, follows it. And the battle between the two. It's going to be Britain 1 and 2, unless something cracks hopelessly. And Koe comes away. Cram digs in, but Koe comes away to retain the Olympic title. Sebastian Koe, back at his best, is the Olympic champion again. Cram gets the silver, Bathcal the bronze, and he's done what he did in Moscow 4 years ago. The silver in the 800, the gold in the 1500.
Daley Thompson steaming ahead. 10.45 is good.
Yes!
It's a better one, it's a better one, it's a better one, it's a better one! Daley Thompson finding a little bit of a sprint. 4:35.
The Olympic Games have always been a source of inspiration. And on the roads in the London Marathon, the fun runners enjoy their dreams. What a contrast to the first marathon ever televised to an international audience. In 1960, the Olympic champion was an unknown African, a Bibi Bikila. But surely the 1960 Olympic Games produced the most famous Olympic champion of the lot.
Cassius Clay, who was to become Muhammad Ali, always had a quiet word for Harry Carpenter.
I'm going to show them all they're wrong because I'm the champion. I'm the real champion. There'll never be one like me. And all of you people in Britain who rank me as the greatest, I'm going to prove I'm the greatest. I'm going to prove to you I'm the greatest. We're going to prove to the world I'm the greatest. This is my last fight. I don't want none of you to miss it. So please come to the theater. I'm going to eat some raw meat, and I'm going to train. I'm going to get ready and chop some more trees.
For Cassius Clay, Olympic gold was the birth of a legend. In the 1950s, BBCtv covered vastly more amateur boxing than it did professional. The policy hadn't yet been devised, which would permit TV coverage without prejudicing actual attendance. So, throughout the winter months in those years, live amateur boxing was seen for 50 minutes almost every Thursday night, and a star was born, Dick McTaggart of Dundee, the most successful amateur boxer of modern times. 5 ABA titles between 1956 and 65. Commonwealth Games gold in 1958 and silver in 62. European gold in 1961 and Olympic gold in 1956 and Olympic bronze in 1960. When he retired in 1965, tempting offers were made to him to turn pro, but he refused. Today, Dick helps train and coach British international teams. During McTaggart's time, another amateur boxer achieved such spectacular KO wins on BBC television, he became a national hero. Heavyweight Billy Walker was guaranteed £10,000 for his first 3 professional contests by promoter Harry Levine, who never regretted it. Shortly before the Levine offer, Walker amazed the nation by flattening Cornelius Perry, a huge American Negro, at Wembley inside a round, as part of Great Britain's unique 10-0 win over the United States in November 1961.
To the left, and he'll never get up from that. He will not get up. Complete count. He's out in the first round. Walker the winner on a knockout of it.
As a pro, Walker continued to draw big crowds to Wembley, although he never won a title. His style was cert box office, and he had 2 tremendous battles with another up-and-coming heavyweight, Johnny Prescott, in 1963, which are still remembered.
And Prescott, once more, under terrific punishment, and he's going! Six, 7, 8, he's up at 8! I don't think he'll survive now.
The rewards from Billy's pro career were turned to good account by his manager brother, George. They laid the foundation of what is today a vast financial empire, including Brent Walker and the production of blockbuster cinema successes like The Bitch and The Stud. Billy himself enjoys comfortable retirement in the tax haven of the Channel Islands. The nationwide hero worship accorded Henry Cooper today springs directly from his many appearances on BBC television over 20 years as amateur and pro. He was the longest reigning British heavyweight champion of all time and the only man ever to win 3 Lonsdale belts, and that can't be done again because new rules forbid it. Henry had 2 supreme moments. The knockdown of Cassius Clay in round 4 of their non-title fight at Wembley in 1963.
The bell has sounded, and he's up at about 3, Clay. That was the end of the 4th round, and he hit him about 2 seconds before the end of the round with a left hook.
And his losing battle with Joe Buckner in 1971.
10 seconds. He's made an effort in this last round, Buckner, but it's too late to make any difference. And there it is, it's over, and Cooper gives him a pat, and says, well done, and he's given it to Buckner. He's given it to Joe Buckner, and I find that amazing.
The decision by Harry Gibbs in favour of Buckner provoked intense sympathy for Henry. It persuaded him to retire, and it ensured he went out on a great wave of emotion that is sustained to the present day. Although Henry still can't quite see it, Gibbs did him a huge favour. In the Olympic Games, and I've seen them all since 1956, Clay's career is not the only one I've seen blossom. I saw Joe Frazier win his heavyweight gold in Tokyo 1964, despite a busted thumb. George Foreman, another heavyweight gold in Mexico City 1968. And the Spinks brothers, Leon and Michael, with double gold in Montreal 1976. The subsequent professional clashes between Ali Frazier, Ali Foreman and Foreman Frazier provided some of BBC television's most sensational satellite nights. The extraordinary finish to Foreman's fight with Frazier in Kingston, Jamaica in 1973, when he lifted Joe clean off the canvas with one punch, remains as clear to me today as when I first saw it.
6 times, and we've got a new heavyweight champion of the world, and it's George Foreman, 24 years old.
Ali and Frazier met 3 times. Their last meeting was the hardest, in Manila, 1975.
The pace, the exhaustion, the punching has got to Frazier at last. He's reeling all over the ring, and Ali can take him out if he's got the strength. Frazier's very nearly helpless on the rope. The Ali corner yelling to the referee to stop it. But Frazier's still up there on his feet, but he's rocking, and he would go with one good punch if Ali could find it. We're coming to the end of the round. There it is. And Frazier reels about the ring on rubber legs. He doesn't know where he is or what he's doing. Eddie Futch comes to him, points to the stool. And Frazier's almost out on his feet. And that corner are in real trouble, really desperate trouble. And somebody in that corner wants to stop the fight. Somebody in Frazier's corner is saying he ought to be stopped. They're arguing about it. And Eddie Futch is calling it off.
I climbed into the ring to interview Ali, the winner, and saw him collapse in the corner. Well, they slapped him into consciousness and we did the interview. But this fight was the last great effort in the ring by either man. To my mind, they ended one another's careers that day, although both mistakenly carried on, with dire results in Ali's case. One of the most bizarre nights of my life was spent in Kinshasa, Zaire, in 1974, when Ali regained the title from Foreman. The fight was staged in a shabby football stadium on the edge of the jungle at 3 o'clock in the morning, with native warriors stamping their feet and brandishing spears.
And suddenly Ali looks very tired indeed. In fact, Ali at times now looks as though he can hardly lift his arms up. And I don't think Foreman's going to get up. He's trying to beat the count, and he's out! Oh, my God, he's won the title back at 32!
After Ali had won, in an amazing turnaround when he looked spent, the heavens opened and a violent tropical storm flooded the city. Had it happened an hour earlier, there would have been no fight. In 1962, I did the first fight ever transmitted from the States via satellite, between the holder, Floyd Patterson, and the bully boy challenger, Sonny Liston, an ex-jailbird with an awesome reputation. It was all over in 2 minutes and 6 seconds. 10 months later, we set up the same expensive satellite coverage for the return fight in Las Vegas. Liston won again, but admittedly, Patterson did better. He lasted 4 seconds longer.
He's getting through underneath, and he's got him going again. Less than a minute gone, and there's the first count. And Liston was a long time going to a neutral corner. 8, there's the count, that's the compulsory count. That was 1 minute gone, and Patterson already on the floor. Those are those heavy lefts going through, and the right following up, and this is what's doing the damage. He's holding and hitting Liston. He's trying to fight back Patterson, but the other man has got by far the heavier punch. And he's over again the second time.
6, 7, 8. 1 minute and 50 seconds. And that looks like being the last one, the way he went there. 7, 8, he won't make it. 9, 10, he's out.
Liston's fights were always sensational, whether he won or lost. In 1964, in Miami Beach, he was a 7-to-1 favourite to beat the new challenger, Cassius Clay.
I'm the champ. He's no champ. He's a tramp.
At the end of 6 rounds, after Clay had looked anything but impressive, Liston quit, sitting on his stool, crying and complaining of a hurt shoulder. And this from a man who'd beaten up and been beaten up by tough cops in St. Louis, Missouri. A year later, in the derelict mill town of Lewiston, Maine, the major fight centres refused to stage the fight. Liston and Clay met again, and this time Liston fell to the floor in the opening round from what looked like an inoffensive right to the temple. After some confusion over the count, he got up and was beginning to fight back when the fight was stopped, the timekeeper then explaining that Liston had been on the floor for 10 seconds and was therefore counted out. Well, to this day, the actual duration of the fight is disputed in the record books, but reference to the videotape determines that it should have ended at 1 minute and 52 seconds. Chris Finnegan deserves a mention as the only British boxer to reach an Olympic final since 1956. Moreover, he won the gold in a dour, uncompromising 3 rounds against the Russian, Alexei Kiselyov, in Mexico City, 1968. Finnegan, of course, later had a long and highly successful pro career, all of it covered by BBC television, including the memorable but losing battle for the world light heavyweight title with the tall Negro Bob Foster in 1972. Finnegan's career was linked closely with that of John Conte, who took the British and Commonwealth titles off him in 1973 and went on to become world champion by beating Jorge Ahumada of Argentina at Wembley in 1974.
It's Conte, world light heavyweight champion at 23.
These last 10 or 11 years have seen a succession of British world champions such as we've never produced before in this country. John Stracey beating the veteran Mexican Jose Napoles in a Mexico City bull ring for the welterweight title in 1975. Maurice Hope flooring Rocky Mattioli in the first 15 seconds in a San Remo circus tent and then forcing him out after 8 rounds for the light middleweight crown in 1979. Alan Minter winning the middleweight title against Vito Antuofermo in Las Vegas 1980 and then beating him again at Wembley a few months later, finally losing the title to Marvin Hagler of the States.
He's being forced into a real war. He's smothered in blood, Minter, and he's in desperate trouble in the 3rd round. He can't keep the man away. Hagler will not be denied. And Minter's left eye is in real trouble, and the referee stopped it so that they can have a look at it. It is a really very bad cut over Minter's left eye, and it's stopped. It's stopped in the 3rd round, and Hagler's on his knees. And this is the worst scenes we've ever seen at Wembley in any boxing ring in this country.
And Jim Watt enjoying a wonderful Indian summer to his career with a succession of lightweight world title wins in Glasgow. Every night, a blaze of fierce Scottish pride and emotion. And Charlie Magler, little Charlie, waiting patiently years for his chance and then seizing it against Eliancio Mercedes of the Dominican Republic in 7 rounds at Wembley in 1983.
And Britain has the world flyweight champion. Charlie is the champion. It's Champagne Charlie is my name.
And still fresh in the memory is that summer's night of 1985 at Queen's Park Rangers football ground when Ireland's Barry McGuigan climbed the summit.
10 seconds, and Pedrosa is going to survive. What a marvellous champion. He takes 2 rights at the end, and that surely must be the end of Pedrosa's reign as champion. I'm inclined to think that's just about the greatest fighting performance I've ever seen from a British boxer.
October 1958 was another milestone in television sports history because we had the beginning of Grandstand. Once again, we come back to Paul Fox, but aided and abetted this time by Ginger Cowgill, Brian Cowgill.
Brian sat in the gallery and he drove it like a brilliant racing machine. He drove it superbly. He may have shouted, he may have cursed occasionally, but Brian drove that program along and he knew where he was going. He kept it to the clock. And between us, it was a terrific team job, and it was marvelous television.
BBC Television, 1 o'clock.
Grandstand combined the latest news with the biggest events.
Developing in the ring. And London goes tearing in again. And the fight starting all over again. So there's London's father, Jack London, the old champion, down on the ground now. That's it, he's on! Got it, 310 with it.
It's going to be Arkle if he jumps it. Arkle coming to the last now, and Arkle a length nearer Millhouse. He's over and clear. Millhouse is trying to challenge him again, but it's Arkle on the stand side. Millhouse over on the far side, coming up towards the line, and Arkle is holding him. Arkle going away now from Millhouse. This is the champion. This is the best we've seen for a long time. Arkle is the winner of the World Cup.
Jody Schechter's lost it. Jody Schechter has been hit.
In 1961, Grandstand went to see Arnold Palmer at the Open. The world wanted to watch, and millions did, at home on television.
And there is Arnold Palmer in the middle, 284. Arnold Palmer of the United States, outstandingly the greatest player here today.
Jacqueline has 3 more to win. Oh, it may drop in here. And there is the shortest shot that ever won a championship. And Jacqueline is the winner.
Yes, Sanders, the supreme moment. Oh.
Missed it. Yes, certainty. Yes, that's the side you're bound to miss it. And there it is. And there, but for the grace of God.
Oh, Sandy. That's one of these little ones where you just brush it in, just knock it in. Well done. A 5, he has to wait now.
Tennis has always seen the promotion of the game on television as being important. They allowed the first ever direct outside broadcast, which featured Bunny Austin and the 1937 All-England Championships from Wimbledon. Though, of course, it was all a lot more sedate then.
How was the ball?
The lines won't hold it now.
But how was the ball? But you see the ball. How was the ball? Tell me how was the ball? You're giving me a warning for saying somebody is blind. I'm reporting you after the match, and I will request not you in the chair ever again. Excuse me? Look, you can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious! That ball was on the line. Chalk flew up. It was clearly in. How can you possibly call that out? How many you can miss? That he's walking over. Everyone knows it's in this whole stadium, and you call it out?
Kay Stammers, the British Whiteman Cup player, appeared on the very first day of BBC television. And her British successors used the Wimbledon Championship stage a lot more effectively than the men.
It's all over. Angela Mortimer, the champion, sent forward by Colonel Legg. Oh, I say, what a shot. So it's championship point for Ann Jones for the third time. Left. Yes. Still championship point. Yes, she's done it.
The first ever rugby union to be covered was the Calcutta Cup in 1938. But as the sport became more widely watched, the laws began to change, and everyone clearly enjoyed the more open play.
Gets it out to Sharp. Sharp dummies inside to Weston. Sharp is through. Magnificent run by Sharp. Dummies, and he's over. What a score!
To do with a heel here. But England have it to Worston. Hancock. And he's here. Anybody up with him? Rogers from about 5 yards behind. Oh my God, look at the center. Is he wanting to inside him? What a finish! Hancock for England.
Kirkpatrick to Williams. This is great stuff. Phil Bennett covering. Chased by Alistair Scone. Brilliant. Oh, that's brilliant. John Williams, Brian Williams, pulling. John Dawes. Great dummy. David, Tom David, the halfway line. Brilliant by Quinnell. This is Gareth Edwards. A dramatic start. What a score. David Duckham. Lambert misses him. Kirkpatrick as well. Colling was in that again. Derek Quinnell. Dawes. Williams. Gibson. Gibson. Slattery to John Williams.
England rocking going forward have won it. Finland, Duckham, Spencer. Spencer, tackled by Frayne, gives it to Dalton. This is Duckham. Duckham could well score his third try for England, and he has.
Ireland's forward still working it over the 22. Now it's Bradley to Dean. Kiernan. Dean on the loop. Beautifully out to Mullen. A brilliant score here for England again. He must make it. That was a great try.
This is Irvin. Irvin with Elgin Rees. Oh, what a marvellous sidestep. Gives it to Bruce Hay. Hay looking for support from his forwards. Now it's Alan Lawson. Out to Rutherford. Rutherford streaking through.
Rutherford with support there from number 12, Magika. This is Alan Jones. There's a chance for Scotland. Irvin with a magnificent try. That was brilliant. Irvin into space. Across comes JPR. JPR flattened by Carmichael. Fenwick. Gerald Davis. What was he doing there? And you can see Davis, Bill Bennett. Bennett out to David Butcher. Butcher back inside to Fenwick to Bennett. Oh, this is going to be the cry of the championship. That was absolute magic, and the whole crowd here knows it.
Rugby League didn't appear on television until 10 years after the first rugby union, and it was the cup final at Wembley, Bradford Northern versus Wigan. Later, commentator Eddie Waring became a national figure.
I would second that. 1 ton of rugby you're looking at there. Meat, brawn, muscle, brain, a lot of it. And up and under. Steve Crooks, it's a birdie up and under. And it's a try. Big George going for the early bath. He's only a short fellow, he hasn't very far to fall. And this amazing game of rugby league, and nobody knows who's going to take it. Ah, this is it, they're trying to go, they could do something. Oh, he's going over for a try! He's going to score a try! It's a try! Ten Pace, the last-minute try! Ten Pace, the last-minute try! What a grandstand finish this is. He missed it! He missed it! It's on the ground, he missed it! Well, and there goes a whistle for time. What a dramatic, everybody's got their head in their hands, and he's sure in tears. If in tears, he's a poor lad.
The unmistakable style of the late Eddie Waring, which illuminated many a winter afternoon.
Grandstand had been ambling along for a year or two, and the big breakthrough for Grandstand came in April 1960, when the Grand National was televised for the first time. Now, Peter Dimmock was the originator of this. Peter knew what the Grand National meant in British sporting history.
The Grand National was the plum sporting event to achieve. But there was one little obstacle, in fact, rather a large obstacle, Mirabelle Topham, because, well, awkward is the understatement of the year. I mean, she just didn't acknowledge television. She never watched it. Very early on, I suggested that perhaps she might like to have a television set with our compliments. I don't want that rubbish in my drawing room, she said. Radio's perfectly adequate. So that was a great start. You remember the debacle when she did her own comment, put her own commentators in, and I think it was mostly up and over. We didn't really know which horses were leading.
Still leading with a loose horse just jumping in front of it now. 7 Freebooter. Little Joy, they're all well up there, but it's still Peel leading from Freebooter. And they get in the top of that. Third fence, it's still Peel. And I now hand you over to Jack Topham at the Valentine.
Peter Dimmock persuaded her and persuaded her, and paid court on her and sent her flowers and chocolates and champagne and caviar and all the other things, and in the end, Mirabelle surrendered, and there we were in April 1960, and for the first time the Grand National was televised.
And the white flag up, and they're under starters' orders.
And it was, of course, one of the biggest, most ambitious and complicated sporting outside broadcasts ever achieved, with senior producer Ray Lakeland under the eagle eye of both Mrs. Topham and millions of viewers. Rather like Kennedy's assassination, many will always remember where they watched the first televised Grand National. It was a special magic to enjoy what no one had seen before, a close-up of all 30 formidable fences. The visual drama created a new sporting dimension for millions who'd never travelled to Aintree.
Mighty Beaches for the second time. Heathfiend over, Merriman over, and Badlock over. Mr. Watt is down. Mr. Watt is down.
The race towards the line with 150 yards to run. Jerry Scott just draws his whip to give the horse a little tap to keep him going. And it's Merriman striding away from Badlock in second place. And here comes Clear Profit with a great raffle to race into third place. 25 yards to run for Merriman as he runs up towards the line with 22-year-old Jerry Scott aboard. Merriman looks certain to win. He's got 10 yards to run to the line, and at the line, Merriman is the winner of the National.
Every year, the National was special.
And Rutherford has been hampered, and so has Castle Falls. Ronchetto has fallen, Principal has fallen, Norther has fallen, Curtin Lad has fallen, the Foster has fallen. There's a right pile up. Leesy has climbed over the fence and left his jockey there. And now with all this mayhem, Fournaven has gone off on his own. He's about 50, 100 yards in front of everything else.
It was a race that immortalized the usually harmless 23rd fence.
Going over the unconsidered outside of him, John Buckingham holding Josh Gifford on Honey End. Then comes Greek Scholar and Red Alligator. They're racing up towards the line now, and it's Fournaven who missed that melee at Beaches, going well clear to a fantastic Grand National triumph. Honey End is second, Red Alligator's coming up to be third, and at the line, John Buckingham looks over his shoulder, sees there's no danger, ears pricked, Fournaven wins the National.
At 100 to 1, even jockey John Buckingham was quite stunned. The Aintree fences hypnotized the nation. Despite modification in the 50s, there was still carnage at the first ditch in 1970, and claims that the fence was over 5 foot high. But every horseman had a yen to jump the fences. That same year, Harvey Smith with Pat McCarran had a go.
What do you think of that? Oh, son.
And Captain Mark Phillips with a plucky Richard Pittman.
Well, this shouldn't prove any problem. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa.
And alongside the heroes of Aintree, there were the villains and imposters. This one infiltrated the Holy of Holies several years in succession. No matter what horse had won the National, he was one of the team. After Kilmore's win, was he a friend of joint owner Nat Cohen or Stuart Levy? Now, after J. Trump's success, he was obviously a friend of Fred Winters, or was he? He was still at it 5 years later, but now his winning allegiance was transferred to Gay Tripp. Perhaps he was now an associate of Fred Rymel. In fact, he was a rascal who lived in Shepherd's Bush.
And what do you say to all these people like Ryan Price and Freddie Winter?
Oh, I said, congratulations, a lovely race, thank you very much. He thought it was something to do with the owner thought it was with the trainer thought it was somebody else, and they said, well, they got fed up, they said, oh, saw him, we won the National, they got fed up asking him why well. They just carried on. But if you won the Grand National, you couldn't care less of an old donkey brown in your horse, would you?
In the 70s, while property man Bill Davis came and went like a burnt-out comet, one horse dominated the National in a way that no horse had done since Manifesto in the 1890s, the incredible Red Rum. In 1973, Grandstand followed him all the way to Aintree for the first of his heart-stopping National wins, this time at the expense of Crisp, at the end of the fastest National ever run.
200 yards now for Crisp, and Red Rum still closing on him, and Crisp is getting very tired, and Red Rum is pounding after him. Red Rum is the one that's finishing the strongest. He's going to get up. Red Rum is going to win the National, and at the line, Red Rum has just snatched it from Crisp, and Red Rum is the winner, and Crisp is second.
23 pounds of weight had swayed the balance, but 12 months later it was Red Rum who now, like Crisp, had to carry 12 stone.
Great local crowd giving him a tremendous ovation, and Red Rum getting the ovation of his career, and the Crown Fetcher acknowledging the cheers of the crowd as he comes to the line, the winner of the National.
By now, Red Rum and his trainer Ginger McCain were becoming a national institution. For the next 2 years, Rummy was second. Then came 1977.
And Red Rum with a tremendous chance of winning his third National. He jumps it clear of Churchtown Boy. He's getting the most tremendous cheer from the crowd. They're winning him home now, and he's coming up to the line to win it like a fresh horse in great style. It's hats off and a tremendous reception. You've never heard one like it at Liverpool. Red Rum wins the National.
So Rummy, through television, became one of the great sporting heroes of our time, with his popularity climaxed by a famous appearance on BBC's Sports Review of the Year.
Tommy, you're in Leeds. I don't know what you say to Red Rum. Do you talk to him, whistle to him? Give him a shout.
I don't know what to say to him, Frank. He's much more intelligent than I am. So what I could say to him wouldn't, I think he's pricking his lugs up. I think he hears something different. He said, I've met that fella before someplace.
And 9 years later, Red Rum remains a major star. Suddenly, the National became a punchball in the battle for sex equality. A girl called Charlotte Brew said she wanted to ride in the race. There was nothing to stop her, except, that is, the fences.
She's just refused and looks as though she's going to call it a day.
But eventually, pretty Geraldine Rees proved that it could be done, completing the course, that is. It was a fine achievement on a moderate horse. But racing is one equestrian sport where females remain unlikely to break through, at least in the saddle. Yet, in the National, miracles do happen. Bob Champion beat cancer, and Alden Eaty overcame a crippling lameness. And women like Jenny Pittman were taking a grip on the training side. Jenny trained the winner of the Gold Cup and Grand National, and television made her almost as famous as the highest in the land. The early 70s was one of the great eras in flat racing. Foaled within 12 months were Mill Reef, Brigadier Gerard and Nijinsky.
And there's Lester with that sort of fishing rod type of whip he has. It's about 6 inches longer than any other jockey. He doesn't use it any harder, but I think he finds that if he waves it in front of a horse will see that the whip is coming when and if he wishes to give them a sharp reminder.
The great Clive Graham died in '74, the year that a TiVo enabled Peter O'Sullivan to rout the bookies.
Not easy to move such speed through a crowd, but Pedro's undoubtedly an expert. Now he's through in the dangerous area of Tattersall's ring. He's having a look at the odds board to see what price it is.
Chester Cup, Northumberland Plate and Triumph Hurdle all fell to the brave little battler. Even television, however, has its limitations.
And they're running down towards the third flight. You'll just have to take our word for that.
A mile and a quarter they've got to run, and Bashaga has stayed in the stall. Now, let's go and try and join the remainder. In fact, we haven't got a camera that can keep up with them at all.
As they jump to one in front of the stands for 7th. Golden Autumn, except that there aren't any stands, of course.
But on the good days, television provides a panorama with dimensions never seen before. After 27 years, the National's been seen from below, alongside, from head-on, and now finally above. It's also a visual chronicle of genius, the magic of men like John Frankham and of John Joe O'Neill, captured for future generations to enjoy. And great races like the famous duels between Monksfield and Sea Pigeon, the essence of the winter sport. And the electronic age provides a close-up of genius, like that of Piggott, enabling technique to be analysed in minute detail, though not even television can explain Piggott's balance. And so with horses, who was the greatest of all.
It's Seabird going away from Ice Meadow Court is in third place. Seabird going away, and it looks as though barring accidents he's going to win the Derby easily. Seabird going away from Meadow Court in second place, and Ice third, and at the line, Seabird's the winner. Lester Piggott coming with a great challenge towards the outside, but it's Connaught the leader. Connaught as they race up towards the line from Saraiva in second. Saraiva gaining on Connaught as they race towards the line. Saraiva's going to take it up, and at the line, Saraiva's won the Derby. Here comes Lester Piggott on Nijinsky. It's here on the far side. Lester Piggott on the near side on Nijinsky. Nijinsky coming to take it up from here and racing up towards the line. It's a risk for Lester Piggott. Nijinsky's gone clear. Nijinsky's the winner. It's Linden Tree, Lombardo and Mill Reef, and Mill Reef striking the front now in the Derby. And Mill Reef going on now from Linden Tree on his inside. It's Mill Reef and Linden Tree into the final furlong. Mill Reef the leader. Linden Tree second. Alice Falls finishes first. Coming to the line. And Mill Reef the winner. They're coming down the furlong pole. Ridgely first. West being pressed by Troy, who takes it up now. Willie Carson storms to the front on Troy now. And Willie's striding away now to win the Derby. Troy's going to win the Derby easily. Dickens Hill will be second as they come to the
And there were some Derby winners that needed a little help.
Towards the furlong marker now, and it's Rheingold who's hit the front from Roberto. It's Rheingold from Roberto, and Pentland throws Rheingold on the near side, Roberto on the far side. It's a great race home between these two, Rheingold and Roberto. Roberto inching his way back as they come to the line. It's a photo finish, Roberto and Rheingold. And it's Hotgrove from the Minstrel, blushing Grove and Monseigneur. 100 yards to run in the Derby. The Minstrel coming to challenge Hotgrove. And it's Lester Biggin and William Carlton. The Minstrel on the near side, Hotgrove on the far side. And the Minstrel wins it from Hotgrove, blushing Grove is third.
Pigot's genius recorded forever. Since 1953, the sport of kings has become the sport of queens. No monarch since King Edward VII has owned the winner of the Derby, but Her Majesty has enjoyed some famous days. Perhaps most memorable, the Prix de Diane, the French Oaks, in 1974, won by Highclere. On the eve of the royal meeting at Ascot, Highclere's success was one that the royal party will never forget. Only Dunfermline, in Silver Jubilee year, gave comparable pleasure. A year later, we saw the race of the century.
Towards the furlong pole, it's Bustino and Grundy together. Then comes Dahlia, then On My Way. Bustino on the far side, Grundy on the near side. The 3-year-old and the 4-year-old. They race into the final 150 yards. And it's Grundy going on from Bustino and Dahlia and On My Way. Bustino's fighting his way back, but Grundy's holding him as they come to the line. Grundy wins it. Bustino's second, Dahlia's third.
And Grundy's time knocked over 3 seconds off the previous record. In the late 60s, television created the slow-motion action replay. The stewards, too, had their camera patrol. Access to these new techniques led to stewards' decisions unthought of in the pre-camera era. For instance, the disqualification of the first 3 horses in a race at Royal Ascot in 1974. The camera showed that the horse on the rails hung right, the horse on the left hung left, and the horse behind went for a gap that wasn't there. So, incredibly, the 4th horse got the race. And such was the impact of television exposure of starts from the old-fashioned barrier that eventually, in 1966, the stewards were finally forced to introduce starting stalls. Now, 20 years on, it's hard to imagine a different system. And finishes like this, the epic battle between Monksfield and Night Nurse, put pressure on judges to eliminate the slightest margin of error. Ironically, Aintree was almost the last racecourse to install a photo finish camera. Televisions never deterred the crowds on the great occasion. Cheltenham becomes ever more popular, and they came in tens of thousands to see Michael Dickinson's bid to saddle the first 3 home in the Gold Cup. In all, he saddled 5 runners for Cheltenham's greatest prize.
Bregon is in the lead from Captain John, challenging on the near side. Bregon lands over it, Captain John second, then Wayward Lad racing into the closing stages. And it's Bregon being challenged by Wayward Lad, Captain John on the near side. Bregon being pressed now by Captain John. Bregon striding up to the line to win it. Bregon wins the Gold Cup, second is Captain John, and third is Wayward Lad. And 4th is going to be Silverbuck, and he's going to achieve the 5th because Ashley House runs on to be 5th. And so an amazing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once again, history is made at the 1983 Cheltenham National Hunt Festival.
But nothing compared to the crowd reaction to Dawn Run's success this year. It was a scene generated by the television era, and it inspired one of that emotional, enervated crowd to a greater determination to experience the thrill of winning. And on August the 5th this year at Redcar, Her Royal Highness the Princess Anne duly enjoyed that unique sensation. Not the first royal to win a race, but the first in the all-seeing 50 years of television.
Princess Anne was also the first royal to win a European Championship and ride in the Olympic Games. And the 3-day event, discovered by millions on television, is now attracting a paying audience of around 100,000.
Turn to the trout hatchery. This is the awkward fence with the difficult little bank down to the rails into the pond. And here she comes. Oh, yes, she best picked, but she's gone through it brilliantly. This is really a marvellous round by Princess Anne.
And Princess Anne and doublet now, 2 tight hedges, 27 and 28.
Now to the crushed barrier, the last fence. And beautifully over. A marvellous round by Princess Anne on doublet. The Queen and Prince Philip, anxious as any other parents in this fantastically exciting moment. Now these 3 big fences down the middle. Pecked a little off the first. Picked up over the wall. Really lifted his heels, doublet, this homebred 8-year-old coming to the water now. She had a foot in the water which ruined her chance for second place at badminton. No chance of in the water this time, coming to the last. Stood right there. What a fantastic performance. And so the Queen comes out to present the prize to her daughter, Princess Anne. Surely a unique achievement in sport. And Princess Anne dismounts, goes up to her Queen, and receives the very handsome Raleigh trophy presented to the owner.
Show jumping, too, made a memorable breakthrough.
Tricky style. Now 2 fences to go, and so far only 4 points. Into the water. Not literally, I hope. Now this exciting last fence. 5 feet for it.
Now these very big cross poles. Just 2 fences to go. And the last but 1 fence, he hit it so hard, but it never fell. Fantastic round by Marion Coates. Unbelievable, this 14-2 pony. 12-year-old Sam, 22-year-old Anne Moore from Warwickshire. European ladies champion, former junior champion, and now the greatest prize of all within her grasp. And the good wishes of millions and millions of viewers all over the world as she sets off on this last course. Didn't meet that quite right. She had to reach it. She's coming in very, very sharp to this. Oh! Too sharp. She came in too sharp.
And he's gone, and he can't afford to make another one. Otherwise, time comes into it, but his time is faster. And no problem there. So Harvey Smith has won it with 8 faults. Full of drama here today. And I don't know what that side meant.
Now, coming into the treble. He's wrong. Yes, the third part's gone. He got away with the first part, but the third part has gone. Now, he can't afford another mistake. It's just 2 jumps to go. Turning very short into the water. Accelerating in a few strides. And again he's turned back. A prodigious jump. A prodigious jump. And so, David Wood's done it. He's the new world champion.
Cricket is a game that's changed, with the emphasis not so much on the team as the individual. Years ago, it was a game for gentlemen and players.
Oh, is it the Ashes? Yes, England have won the Ashes.
century under Len Hutton still remains my most emotive memory. It had been a long, long wait, 20 years, since Douglas Jardine's side had won the Bodyline Series in 32-33. 3 years later, after Australia had been shell-shocked by Frank Tyson on their own pitches, there was the astonishing performance by Jim Laker at Old Trafford. He'd already, in Surrey's game against the Tourists, taken all 10 Australian wickets in an innings. Now, in the Manchester Test of 56, he wrote himself indelibly into the record books with 9 in the first innings and 10, yet again, in the second.
Now comes the breakthrough. Mackay has caught Oakman, bowled Laker. Next to go is Keith Miller, out for a duck, bowled Laker. Victim number 6 is Archer, caught Oakman, bowled Laker. All this time, MacDonald is batting well, but when he's hit 89, he too becomes bowled Laker. 7 wickets so far to Laker, and now it's Benno, bowled Laker. 198 for 8, and all 8 bowled Laker. And 20 minutes later, Linville, too, falls to the leg trap, bowled Laker.
He caught him, is he? Is he out? No. Yes, he's out. He's given out, waiting for the appeal.
Can Laker get all 10? That's the question everyone's asking as he bowls to Maddox.
He's out. 10 wickets to Laker.
And it's Australia, bowled Laker.
In the 1960s, the genius of Gary Sobers had flowered to its full maturity. I never saw a finer, more natural or more versatile all-round cricketer. But it was his batting which gave Wilfred Wooler due cause for excitement at Swansea in 1968.
30 minutes, so a faster century than his already fastest is on. That's another one. Goodness gracious me, that peppered the top. More than to do with a few fielders stuck on the top of that wall over there. 52 and 29 minutes. That's another one up in the enclosure. Three balls, 3 sixes, 58. What a incredible bit of hitting. Ooh, he's got the shorter one. It's up again. There it is, bouncing on the concrete. 4 sixes in 4 balls. But this makes him 64. 4 sixes. Wonder where Nash is going to bowl this one. And that will just carry. No, he's going to be out. Caught out. Oh, he's dropped it. He's over the boundary. Now, where's my glasses? Somebody pinched my glasses. Let's have a look. Roger Davis caught it, but he doesn't know whether he fell over the boundary or not. This is the most chaotic situation for a cricket field. Now the players are joining in. 6 it is! 5 on the trot. 5 on the trot. Oh, this is incredible. Now, this is 6 on the trot's a world record. It's been done before, but 70 on the board. And he's done it! He's done it! And my goodness, it's gone way down to Swansea. 6 on the trot.
By the late 50s and early 60s, the old established 3-day game had lost its pulling power and it faced a financial crisis. It needed a new stimulant, and it found one with the institution of the limited overs 1-day contest, a package guaranteeing a result and attracting new audiences. There were 3 main elements in a happy marriage: cricket itself, sponsorship, and television. The Gillette Cup was an instant success, and so was the John Player League, inaugurated in 1969. And there were some heady days for Lancashire, as David Hughes underlined in the famous Gillette semi-final against Gloucestershire in 1971.
John Mortimer in. He's going down again, and that's 6. A magnificent shot. A superb effort this by David Hughes. That's bringing the scores level. The crowd scenes, 22,000 people here have stayed to the bitter end, stayed through the dark, had tremendous value. All over the field, the scores are level. 24 came off that over.
In the last round at Lord's, a brilliant innings by Asif Iqbal gave Kent a strong scent of victory against the holders until Lancashire's captain held a catch to be remembered.
And a magnificent catch. You can't possibly see a better catch than that in a final. Look at the boys going up to Jackie Bond, the captain who took it.
By now, international, a new batting star, Bid Richards, marked his dazzling arrival.
And there's another 4, and it's a great shot.
And the challenge answered, and a terrific shot.
Against England at Trent Bridge, 232. At the Oval, even better, 291. In the Benson and Hedges, gripping finals proved elusive. Not so in the last round, but one. This was Mike Proctor, Gloucestershire v Hampshire, a semi-final in 1977.
A lot of roar from the crowd.
Oh, bowled him! He's done it! The hat-trick to Proctor. 4 in 5 balls. What a performance.
In the same season, when Kerry Packer exploded on the scene, England under Mike Brearley won back the Ashes. And Jeff Boycott in the Headingley Test made his 100th 100 in front of his own faithful. This was a jewel in the crown of one of the game's greatest scorers, dedicated, single-minded in his pursuit of runs. To legions of his own folk, he was a hero. Those closer to the game took a different view. And now at last, a long-running Yorkshire saga seems over. His playing days for the county are done. In 1981, we saw the most spectacular Test series in my memory. By the 4th night of the Headingley Test, England looked out for the count, and Australia were poised to go 2 up with 2 to play. But Ian Botham had other ideas.
They're looking for that, let alone chasing it. It's going straight into the confectionery stall and out again.
So Australia needed 130 to win. England miraculously had something to bowl at, and Bob Willis roared in.
It really was a difficult delivery. He's gone. Oh, what a good catch. Everything is running for Botham. Oh, good catch. Super catch that.
He's got a touch on it. He's gone. In the air, Dilly is underneath it. And he caught it! Yes, he's got a touch and he's gone. Willis has taken his 6th wicket.
Oh, what a good catch. Bowl him. It's all over. And it is one of the most fantastic victories ever known in Test cricket history.
By the next Cornhill Test at Edgbaston, Ian Botham looked as if he might walk on the waters.
Hold him. He's out. LBW.
And he's bowled him, and that surely is going to be it. And that's it this time. He's made sure he's taken 5 wickets. He grabs the stump.
5 for 11. Australia stunned again. England now led 2-1. And at Old Trafford, Ian Botham struck an even finer 100 in yet another England victory, which clinched the series.
In the air, and 6. And that drew all of them into the trap. Now, that was just about the best shot Botham's played today.
Squared him over the rope, and the whole of Old Trafford rising to its feet to acclaim yet another memorable, magnificent performance from Ian Botham.
High old excitement too that year in the first NatWest final, Derbyshire v Northants. Scores level, the last ball of the game.
They're coming for anything. So late by, and it's happened again. Absolutely incredible. Two batsmen kissing each other in the middle. The scores are level after a long, long day's cricket. 120 overs, the scores level. But Derby win this first NatWest trophy because they've lost fewer wickets.
West Indies here again in 1984, and in the Texaco Trophy game at Old Trafford, a breathtaking assault by Viv Richards.
Absolutely magnificent. Straight six this time. Oh, that's a real cracker of a shot. Soared away into the far distance there. And that means that's gone a magnificent six, right over the top.
England on the receiving end, whitewashed 5-0 by relentless pace.
Oh, dear me.
Vicious delivery and just managing to get out of the way of it. That was a nasty one, and he's gone. Just a little flick of the gloves.
No men of things to come in the Caribbean at the next time of asking. But following victory in India, from one down at that, the tide turned for a while at least against Australia here in 1985. Graham Gooch, 196 at the Oval.
Very good shot.
Full pitch, and that's just what Graham Gooch wanted, because that will surely take him to 100. And a great relief for Graham Gooch. Pitch driven quite beautifully again through the covers. No need for anybody to move there. 4 runs.
David Gower, who had a superb series with the bat, 157.
Shot.
Oh, a cracking shot.
Much jubilation as England won back the Ashes from the old enemy. In 1986, after their traumatic experiences in the West Indies, things for England for a long time got no better. India won their first test at Lord's and their first test series here. Then England lost a series against New Zealand, who had one of the great fast bowlers as their spearhead.
Oh, well bowled. Beautifully bowled.
And so the last rain-ruined test at the Oval, and the sensational, I use an overworked adjective advisedly, the sensational return of Ian Botham.
Well, I've never seen anything like it in my life. That is quite fantastic. Oh, dear, oh, dear. No wonder he's got a big smile on his face.
He all but got another wicket with his second ball. He had to settle for 2 in 12. After which we watched his awesome Titanic power with the bat.
Not quite into the road, but probably only stopped by the scaffolding.
Rain, a drawn match, a soggy anticlimax. But Botham's spectacular all-round performance shone in lights as England gave some positive, encouraging signs of a turn in the tide. In all my cricketing days, I've never seen a player, not even the charismatic Dennis Compton, make such a riveting impact. The game will always be box office, big box office, with heroes such as these.
When the first cup final was shown in 1938, there were 100 times more people in the stadium than there were television sets. It was Preston North End versus Huddersfield Town, and the BBC commentator, the legendary Tommy Woodruff, said he'd eat his hat if Preston scored. That night, he had to. George Much winning the match for Preston with a penalty.
But even as television started, the football authorities were unsure about coverage. The 1936 Cup final was filmed from the air because newsreel cameras were banned from Wembley.
Stop that man. He's got a camera. Thanks for trying, Sydney.
But in 1937, the BBC screened its first football programme. Highbury was close to Alexandra Palace, the Arsenal players close to the camera. The first televised match after the war was at Barnet. After Murray had escaped from the studio roof, the BBC showed live coverage of the amateur cup holders.
Just 20 minutes of the game left.
Kenneth Wolstenholme's boys first reached the nation in the 50s, when film was rushed back from league grounds to the studio so that the BBC could transmit highlights in their sports special programme. A young reporter called David Coleman followed a famous cup run by Midland League Peterborough, managed by George Swindon.
Hello, good morning, George.
Good morning.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you, too. I have one request if you're filming the game. That is that Cliff Mitchell-Moore will be the commentator. He's been very lucky for us so far.
But Mitchell-Moore was not so lucky when fog descended on Goodison Park during the Everton-Spurs match in 1960.
Mackay was who hit it, and Mackay was at least. Let's work it out, because we can work out how far Mackay was outside that penalty area. 18, 25, just on 30 yards, that drive was.
By 1966, commentators were a growing breed, working at the World Cup to BBC pictures enlivened by the new technology of videotape. A new machine meant viewers could, for the first time, see major incidents again in what became known as action replay. The world tuned in to extensive coverage, masterminded by head of sport Brian Cowgill.
Can we do a... Hello, Fred. Bill, could you
when we were at the planning stage, we had lots of discussions, and he kept saying to me, come on, we must have an enormous number of hours exposure. We must cover all these matches. And of course, the programme planners kept saying, we can't give you all that airtime. I said, Brian, what do we do? Brian said, tell them England's going to win. Well, he told me this so often that in the end I began to believe it.
And here comes Hurst. He's got some people are on the pitch. They think it's all over. It is now. It's 4.
With Match of the Day came analysis from the managers.
The goal came just at the right time for us, but in the second half, playing with the wind, if we can spread our game out, open up the defence a bit more sideways, I think we should have a chance of clinching 2 points for a much-needed promotion battle.
And in 1969 came football in colour, starting with Liverpool versus West Ham at Anfield. Now you not only saw the goals again, but if you missed a trick from one angle, then isolated coverage from another camera showed exactly how it was done. Aerial cameras still hovered over Wembley, but now bewildering satellite links meant that cup final players could be linked with their families, even 7,000 miles away.
Well, I think you should say hello at least. Hola, Mama.
Television technology now defeats distance and detects deceit. Diego Maradona's sleight of hand was exclusively revealed from a special angle. The pioneers at Alexandra Palace would have approved, not of the handball, but of the handheld BBC camera. So much for the mechanics, but television has also monitored the fans who've made football the national game. The trickle was once a flood. 146,000 were at the Scottish Cup final in the first year of television, and the post-war boom took aggregate Football League attendances above 41 million. It was an age of innocence. One young supporter found himself talking to the England manager, Walter Winterbottom.
There's a boy here playing. What's he called?
David Gaskell.
He's the goalkeeper. What do you think of him this afternoon?
Well, it's only a mishap. He happened to let that go through. Everyone can let the go through like that.
Yes, I think so.
But I think Scotland have got a better chance kicking ball through a brick wall and getting it through him.
Goodwill on the terraces lasted throughout the 60s, with the game attracting a family audience. Sports Night with Coleman encouraged healthy support with a cop choirs contest.
And here now are the last 6.
Come the 70s, though, the smile was wiped off the face of football and replaced by a sinister snarl. Anger turned to violence, and then, in the Heysel in 1985, to sheer horror. The world was sickened by these pictures. At home, football terrorism, heightened by television exposure, was out of control, prompting the introduction of a membership card scheme which became a sensitive national issue, and precipitating the appearance of the police hoolie van, itself a byproduct of the video camera revolution. Clubs hit by disaster responded to the Safety of Sports Grounds Act with more seating. For the affluent aficionado, there was the luxury of the executive box.
He was lost there, that keeper, wasn't he?
For chaperoned youngsters, the protection of the family enclosure, hopefully ensuring the next generation can watch their heroes in safety. Heroes. Stanley Matthews was the first of the television era, giving his name to the 1953 Cup Final, the oldest match in the BBC archives.
There's the man who's really fighting for his cup medal. Could he score the winning goal now, himself? It's there! Henry!
Matthews earned £20 a week, but when Jimmy Hill abolished the maximum wage, it meant 60s stars like Johnny Haynes could earn 5 times as much. It also meant a double turn in the life of the young Jimmy Greaves, a prolific scorer in a Chelsea shirt.
Greaves gets his head.
He briefly sought a fortune in Milan before returning to realistic wages back home, this time with Tottenham. Even our most successful export, John Charles of Leeds, eventually returned from Italy. And so too did Joe Baker with Arsenal.
And a beautiful move by Baker, and a beautiful goal. Oh!
And Dennis Law also scored on his debut back in Britain with Manchester United.
Law, and a beautiful goal! What a goal!
These idols became household names, performing in front of attendances still nudging 30 million a season and a BBC audience of 10 million a week for recorded highlights.
And here comes Charlton! Oh, great goal!
It was champagne stuff, notably from George Best, who personified the modern megastar. Television couldn't have wished for anything better.
Can he do it? He surely must.
But Best became a fallen hero. Too much exposure took its toll. The mantle he should have worn as football's first millionaire was assumed instead by a determined little Englishman who gratefully seized his opportunity to make playing football a profitable business.
And the 1-2, and it's 3-1. And the Scots defence strikes the mark.
When Kevin Keegan went abroad to Hamburg in West Germany, his image earned him exposure across the world. Twice European Footballer of the Year, he was truly a telly-hero. Of great clubs to dominate the television age, the first was Arsenal in the 30s.
All good pals and jolly good company.
But it was Wolves in the 50s who first captured the viewer's imagination, winning a series of floodlight friendlies against crack continental opposition at Molineux.
Johnny Hancock must score.
Manchester United were the first English club to play in the European Cup, before these Busby babes were wiped out at Munich. Vast crowds saw Real's multinational side win the European Cup 5 times running. At home, the 60s started with Tottenham Hotspur attaining the dream of League and Cup double, the first club to do so this century.
And Joe's got his head for a great goal.
Bill Nicholson was one of several managerial titans to stride across this period. As Celtic stormed the continent to become the first British winners of the European Cup, Their strategy was a tribute to the stature of Jock Stein. A year later, it was Manchester United's turn to become European champions, consummating the ambition of Matt Busby. Then there was the arrogance of Leeds United. Their quality and consistency, a testament to the attention to detail of Don Revie, his grim expression reflecting the serious business of winning in the 70s.
Oh, you are a bloody disgrace! Hey, Buzz! For missing the target from there, you want bloody shooting! Oh, it's bloody rubbish! It's rubbish!
That certainly did not apply to Liverpool, a football dynasty built on foundations laid by Bill Shankly.
I think the fact that you beat us here in the Cup was responsible for us winning the league. Yes, it's true, but still, you did well. You're a great side, though.
Shankly had retired by the time Liverpool won the European Cup for the first time.
That's nice, that's McDermott, and that's a goal!
And his successor, Bob Paisley, won more trophies than anybody.
Yeah, well, we'll go round to 3 o'clock.
Joe Fagan took over and won a treble in his first season. And the man who came next won the League and Cup double in his. Kenny Dalglish, a player-manager, setting new standards. In international football, England beat Hungary 6-2 at Highbury just as television started in 1936. But what a different story when the Hungarians came back to London in 1953.
Pushkash. Oh, a lovely goal!
This time 6-3 to Hungary, runners-up in the first World Cup covered by the BBC in 1954. England reached the quarter-finals, and now television was taking an interest in what went on behind the scenes.
Destination Stockholm. Reason for journey, a resounding soccer victory.
Now we learned what Duncan Edwards had for lunch, how Haynes and Clayton spent their time, what the FA selection committee really looked like. Alf Ramsey changed all that. He picked the team himself, and in 1966, a very successful one it was too. In 1970, satellite pictures from Mexico showed England lose their crown.
A good ball.
Television charted England's decline in world status. In 1974, they failed to qualify, and the nation cursed its luck against Poland. England went out again in the 1978 qualifiers.
Garzio to number 4, Benetti. Bettinger! 2-0!
There was hope in 82.
Keegan has gone right of the penalty spot. That's nice. This is Robson. Keegan pulls away and gets the header, and it's wide!
Close again in Mexico.
It's a good cross! Yes, no! Lineker just could not get to it.
"50 years ago, nobody had thought of sponsorship. Or artificial pitches. Or what to do when the crowd stopped coming. These are modern developments, reflected in television's current emphasis on live coverage of big matches. The game is still about stars, although many are drifting overseas. If the World Cup's top scorer is a fresh-faced screen hero, the powerful Merseyside clubs, on whom our domestic game is now largely based, still haven't found a way of preventing the likes of Gary Lineker or of Liverpool's Ian Rush from selling their talents more lucratively on the continent. But if football remains the people's game, needing its supporters from all sides more than ever, then television remains a window through which they can enjoy it still.
Sport and television have now learned to live together, not always in peace, but to their mutual benefit. Through television, sporting interests have changed, but new questions have arisen. And with a worldwide sporting audience counted sometimes in billions, new temptations. Terrorists in the Munich massacre made every sporting festival a potential target. Politicians can't resist using boycotts as a tool. Hooligans menace events both big and small. The sponsor, though benevolent, has growing importance. With traditional team games not being encouraged in some schools, will television have a bigger part to play in publicising them? And how much will sport be affected by pay-as-you-view, cable television, domestic satellite receivers, and so on? Will new technology change the whole pattern? Well, whatever happens in the future, the fact is today millions now see events only thousands could previously attend. And they've discovered the pleasure and pure theatre sport can offer. Of course, it's still one of the very few remaining areas of regular live broadcasting. And it doesn't always go right for those in television or those in competition.
Congratulations, thank you.
Toshihiro Kaiwa of Japan. And thankfully we named him early.
I like to see us play purposeful, bright football. The lights have gone out. And England supporters at the ground were hoping that collapse was not going to be a portent of things to come.
Cornelia Sulik in the javelin, her first round throw.
Oh!
Pete Dam wins, looks through a completely clean windscreen, and that's the big advantage, of course, of being in front. And that's the big disadvantage of getting your line wrong.
Here they come. Oh, heaven only knows what the decision is about that. Oh, I have never, ever seen anything like that in all my life.